Welcome students. We'll start with a new lesson from your chapter Ray Optics and Optical Instruments. So in today's class, we will discuss reflection. What is reflection? So, when a ray of light approaches a smooth polished surface and the light ray bounced back, it is called the reflection of light. Suppose this is your light which falls on the smooth surface and this light is bounced back. This phenomenon is known as your reflection. In reflection, the incident light which lands upon the surface is said to be reflected off the surface. This red line is your incident ray. This incident ray which falls on a polished surface is bounced back. And when it's bounced back, this rebound ray is known as your reflected ray. So, the ray that bounced back is called the reflected ray. If a perpendicular were drawn on the reflecting surface, it would be called normal. So, suppose this is your surface. Now on the surface I will draw a perpendicular. Perpendicular means suppose you have a straight line. On this straight line you draw a line in such a manner that this angle is 90 and this angle is 90. Fine. So similarly in this case, if this is your surface and we draw a straight line in such a manner that this line is making an angle of 90 degree, this line is making an angle of 90 degree, 90 degree with this surface on the both sides. Fine. So such straight line which makes an angle 90 degree with the surface is known as your normal. Now the figure shows the reflection of the incident beam on a plane mirror. This figure shows how a plane beam of light is being reflected. Now here, the angle made by the incident ray and the normal, this angle is known as your angle of incidence, and the angle made by the normal and the reflected ray is known as your angle of reflection. Next, we'll discuss laws of reflection. So, what are the two laws of reflection? So, starting from the first law, suppose an incident ray falls on a smooth polished surface. This surface is a reflecting surface. Fine. This ray falls on this surface. Now let us draw a straight line perpendicular to this surface. This line is known as your normal, and the incident ray makes some angle with the normal. This angle is known as your angle of incidence. Now when this incident ray falls on this smooth surface, this light or this ray is reflected back, and this ray is known as your reflected ray. And the angle made by the reflected ray and the normal is known as your angle of reflection. So according to the first law, the first law of reflection defines that upon reflection from a smooth surface, the angle of the reflected ray is equal to the angle of the incident ray with respect to the normal to the surface, that is to a perpendicular to the surface at the point of contact. Now, according to your first law, the angle formed by the incident ray, which is your angle of incidence, and the angle formed by the reflected ray, which is your angle of reflection, both of these angles are equal. Angle I equals to angle R. This is your first law of reflection. Moving on to our second law of reflection, the reflected ray is always in the plane defined by the incident ray and the normal to the surface at the point of contact. So according to this law, the incident ray, the reflected ray, and the normal, they all lie on the same plane. Fine. Suppose this is your incident ray, this is your normal, and this is your reflected ray. Now, let us consider a surface. Can you see? This surface, this is your x-axis, this is your y-axis. Now, the incident ray, the normal, and the reflected ray all lie on this xy plane, or I'll say they all lie on this plane surface. So according to the second law, the incident ray, the normal, and the reflected ray lies on the same plane. Fine. So that's it for today's class. Thank you. And if you have any confusion, please don't hesitate to ask. I will explain you again. So thank you.